Watching The Last Jedi was weird because I feel like it reignited a love of Star Wars that lay dormant within me that just made me hate the movie more. I was like, wow, I didn't know that I cared about this.
Hmm.
That's like, thanks for betraying this thing,
Wow.
and thereby reminding me that I actually did have some vestige of interest. And
Yeah, because it's like I try to deny that because I don't like vested interest in Star Wars tends to go really south
it
very
does,
quickly.
yes. You got to be a glutton for punishment to
And I
stay
really
there.
just think like it's great, but at the same time, what if Star Wars had just been a hit? Maybe even an underwhelming kind of
Yeah,
hit.
like Excalibur or Krull or like something kind of left by the
Yeah,
wayside to time.
like you
Yeah.
would have to go back to like the Cinefantastique double issue to get
Hmm.
some really cool behind the scenes info on it. Like it wasn't just as pervasive as it is now.
Yeah.
And it is like white noise at this point because
Hmm.
it's all over the place. I mean, I think it's diminishing a bit now.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
and there will come a time again where I'll be like, all right, like, I can want to come back to it, with fresh eyes, but it needs its proper place.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah, it's
you
like
know,
it's so overblown. I was in a weird headspace. I can't remember if this was after The Last Jedi or what, but I was just in a weird mood around Christmas time a few years ago and just watched the original trilogy again, but also experiencing them as an adult and being able to sort of see them in a fresh way. And I really enjoyed them a lot. I saw a lot more of the flaws of
mhm.
Star Wars, but especially Return of the Jedi is it's a mess.
Hmm.
Um, but also being able to enjoy them again and go like, you know what? Like I can kind of slot these in with some other 80s movies, 70s and 80s movies that I love in the fantasy and science fiction
Mhm.
realm. Like it does still well some of that stuff up if I can divorce myself from the overexposure, which I think is a little more possible now than when the sequel trilogy was just wetting the bed, and especially being in college. Everybody's just talking about Star Wars. It's Star Wars bed sheets, Star Wars posters, Star Wars needlepoint, Star Wars watch parties, watching the trailer, watching the breakdowns of the trailer. You want to talk about something that makes me hate Star Wars? The
Hmm.
experience of going to college, Star Wars, Disney, Adult Swim, and Lord of the Rings is just on repeat all the time. I just maybe not want to experience any of those things the whole time I was there.
Yeah, gosh. Like I remember I was very big into Star Wars as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I just had a lot of providential breaks
Yeah.
growing up that kept me moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a kid, and like Christmas 1997 was awesome. Like
Yeah.
because I got all these Star Wars toys. We had the original trilogy on VHS, and I had like a lot of Star Wars books growing up. And then it was like got to a point where I was like discovering other films. I really got
Mm-hmm.
into like Ray Harryhausen.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always been like this, but it's like I'll discover a movie that's like my new favorite movie. Like there was a period of time where Forbidden Planet was just everything I would talk about.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
was like that would just eclipse Star Wars. And I
Mm-hmm.
know people where like nothing does that.
Yeah. They've like
It's
just
always
stayed in
Star
Star Wars.
Wars.
They've camped out there.
I was a little more blunt, or at least maybe a little less tactful years ago. But in college, there was this girl who was just obsessed with Star Wars, and
Mm-hmm.
like everyone's hanging out in a dorm room, and she's just watching Star Wars for like the umpteenth time. And I like go over to there and I say, like, you should watch some other movies and stuff besides Star Wars. There's so much else. You got to branch out. You got to do all this stuff. I think what I said was more impassioned and maybe even
Yeah.
like sounded a little more dire, urgent. And
Mm-hmm.
and like later on, they're just like, dude, what did you say? You made her cry. And I was like, oh gosh, I'm sorry. I was just trying to be helpful.
Oh my goodness. It's like sometimes it has to get worse before it gets better.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe you
She
really
moved
were
on to Marvel. So there you go.
okay. Yeah. That's a whole other step. I think too, because I was also really into Star Wars, even the prequels, not so much the movies themselves, but I remember the DVDs because
Yeah.
I did think the movies
Mhm.
were kind of bad. Even then, I was like, oh, like this was dumb, but I like this part or I like this design element or something. And then the special features, like watching through those.
Mhm.
That's what was so funny about the Plinkett reviews is because I remember those special features like
Yeah.
very well. But it's just this sense of okay, they've built this fantasy world and there's all these aspects of design and really cool, like the design elements are really cool, but it wasn't like it is now where there's like a new Star Wars show every week. And it was like, okay, there's the movies there's these 6 movies. A lot of the fervor for the movies is kind of dying because people don't really like the movies that much. There's that Clone Wars cartoon, and that's about it. Some video games, some novelizations, but I was able to kind of turn that interest into Star Wars, which, in all fairness, I had interest for other things like Star Wars then too, but I was able to turn to other things, like Ray Harryhausen, even Flash Gordon. I became interested in the things that inspired Star Wars and other space opera stuff and fantasy stuff and science fiction stuff. I had other things going into Star Wars, and coming out of it, it's kind of hard to stay in Star Wars because there just wasn't that much of it in terms of visual media just at your fingertips like there is now.
Yeah, and what was it, in like the early 2000s? I had this book. I mean, I still have it. Called Ray Harryhausen: An Animated Life, and it's this amazing coffee table book. And I was just, eating it up and just reading about just all of the handmade aspects of his films. And at the same time, I'm watching like the extras for like Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. And they're like, oh, we didn't manufacture a single clone trooper suit. Like it's all like, CGI. And I just like had this moment of like,
this whole world was inside somebody's PC.
And there's this whole documentary on the Revenge of the Sith DVD where it's talking about how they made like, I don't know how many seconds, 40 seconds or something, a minute of footage, and all the work that went into it, which was really interesting. But again, it was just so much computer and CG stuff. And like, I started to get disenchanted because I feel like there were things that I watched in the Harryhausen movies and the other movies that I loved, which just felt like the movies had achieved something more than beyond the special effects. And it's just like a lot of people my age were just getting really excited because CG, the new technology, it's just going here. And
the dream screen.
The dream screen. Isn't that what Robert Rodriguez
called green screen?
Green screen. Yeah, Spy Kids, talk about
I have
part of my childhood.
Same.